A pedestrian has died after being hit by a car. That's according to the Penobscot County Sheriff Troy Morton. That crash happened before 1 o'clock this afternoon. The pedestrian was given CPR but died at the scene. We don't know their identity. The Penobscot County Sheriff's Office is still working to let their family know what happened. No one else was hurt. We'll share more details as they become available.
Tonight, we are hearing directly from Lewiston's police chief about a shooting incident that happened in that city over the weekend.
Police say 5 teenagers have now been arrested and charged in connection with what investigators describe as a planned retaliatory shooting linked to the incident. News Center Maine's Alex Haskell joins us live outside of the police department in Lewiston with the latest details and what police say they're now doing to address a rise in youth gun violence. Hi, Alex.
Hey, Amanda. Hey, Brian. Well, police say the shooting happened near 125 Pierce Street. That's about 3/4 of a mile from where we're standing here tonight. Now, Lewiston police say they have arrested 5 juveniles, 2 16-year-olds, 2 15-year-olds, and a 14-year-old, charging them with criminal conspiracy to commit murder. Police say all but one of the teens are also charged with violating conditions of release, indicating they are repeat offenders. Chief Carly Conley says officers responded to Pierce Street on Saturday, where they found evidence of a shooting. She says investigators then spoke with the intended victims, who said they had been warned earlier in the day they could be targeted. As the investigation unfolded, Conley says police learned a second shooting was being planned in retaliation, leading to the arrest of the 5 teens. Conley says youth gun violence remains a growing concern here in Lewiston. So far this year, she says police have investigated 10 shootings involving young people.
We're doing everything within our power and our control to, curb this violence and provide a sense of security to the community that every individual deserves. We've really reallocated some of our shifts and hired extra patrols focused on specific areas.
So Conley says guns can be stolen from vehicles and homes, and that might explain why some of these young people are getting a hold of them. She says in the last month, Lewiston police officers have seized 11 guns. 5 of them have been reported stolen. Live in Lewiston, Alex Haskell, News Center, Maine.
Alex, thank you. It will be decades before a man from Leeds is free from prison. Joseph Shute was found guilty of killing Alex Jackson and faced sentencing this morning.
The final sentence that I impose upon you as a result of your conviction on the charge of intentional and knowing murder of Alex Jackson is 55 years to the Department of Corrections.
Jackson went missing in May of 2023. Shute was arrested nearly a year later in March of 24. Jackson's body was found a month after that in New Hampshire. Prosecutors argued Shute had killed Jackson over a debt he owed. Jackson's family shared statements in court today about the impact he had on their lives.
Another thing Alex taught me, and something I carry with me everywhere I go, is that laughter is the best medicine. No matter what I was upset or going through, he was always found a way to make me laugh.
Shute was also fined $5,000 that will go to the Victims' Compensation Program and more than $7,000 to the Maine Warden Service, which took part in the search for Alex Jackson.
Jonathan Bush is one of 7 candidates competing in the Republican primary for governor.
He is the former CEO of Athena Health in Belfast and has been leaning hard into what he says are the needs of businesses in this race. Bush was talking business in Biddeford today. Christian Harson takes us there.
It's businesses like this, Volk Packaging in Biddeford, that Jonathan Bush is running on.
And that jacking up the conditions against business do not come without consequences. My kids are leaving.
Bush is talking about taxes, regulations, policies, and programs.
Each one of these things, when accumulated, kills our economy.
Maine is a very, very difficult place to do business.
Parental, family care.
One of the challenges, they say, is Maine's new paid family medical leave program, which gives eligible workers 12 weeks of paid time for medical, family, and parental leave. Since the program began May 1st, Volk says 10% of his employees have taken advantage of it.
We've created a culture here in Maine where we are encouraging people to not come to work.
There is no way that this does not bankrupt.
$100,000.
Volk hasn't made a final decision on who he'll vote for, but thinks Bush could lead Maine well.
Any candidate on the Republican side, I will take.
One of his workers, Jeff Cody, is also undecided, but with 3 kids, he wants Maine's next leader to cut costs.
Childcare a little cheaper, maybe make it more available, more affordable places to stay.
The fixed cost of having a state.
Bush says the policies he deplores have driven costs up.
Your pro rata share of it goes up and up and up. The gain is not worth the strain at all.
One of 7 candidates, Bush says most of the Republican field would set Maine on the right track.
There's only one candidate that has not been honest about who he is, and that's Bobby Charles.
Charles may be leading in some polling, but Bush says that's not going to stop him and that he's going to catch him in this primary. In Biddeford, Christian Harsa, News Center, Maine.
Bush is not the only candidate, by the way, to criticize Bobby Charles. David Jones yesterday released his ballot ranking and left Charles off, saying he cannot support him.
With the Democratic gubernatorial primary a week away as well, Dr. Nirav Shah presented himself today as if he were already the party's nominee, going after 3 of his Republican rivals. At a news conference today in Brunswick, Shah described their plans as non-starters based on fantasy math when Maine governors are required to adopt a balanced budget. Shah singled out Bobby Charles, Jonathan Bush, and Ben Midgley. He criticized Charles' proposal to eliminate the state income tax, Bush's proposal for $1 billion tax cut on day one, and Midgley's lack of a plan to address the cost of living.
And what we are seeing from Republicans who are running in this race are promises of massive tax cuts without specifying which services that vulnerable Mainers will be eliminated from receiving. That is not leadership. It is sloganeering and hiding the ball. Across Maine.
Shah said the biggest part of the state budget is not imaginary waste, but services people rely on, like schools, Maine Care, and aid to our towns.
I suppose.
Meanwhile, some people hitting the polls this morning ran into problems before even casting their ballots.
According to the Secretary of State's office, Maine's computerized central voter system was being updated, which stopped some town clerks from logging in voters. 3 voters showed up to the Scarborough Town Hall around 7 o'clock this morning. They were told they would have to wait to vote until the town clerk received further guidance from the state, or they could come back later. When the Secretary of State's office then opened at 8 a.m., town clerks were told they could continue to allow voting even while the system was down. The town clerk in Gorham tells us the outage didn't cause any significant problems.
The only issue is that we can't get into the CVR, which is the central voter system, to add a voter for an absentee ballot, but we're doing it by hand. So we're not turning voters away. It's not impacting the voters at all.
If you are headed to the polls later today, the Deputy Secretary of State for Communications says you shouldn't be turned away, and there are no problems when it comes to absentee ballots. The State Department is hosting talks between diplomats from Israel and Lebanon.
Israel and Hezbollah have been trading strikes despite a ceasefire. According to a recent exclusive from Axios, Lebanon has become a point of contention between President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Donald Trump wants him to scale back operations in Lebanon, while Netanyahu has remained steadfast in planned military action there. The 2 leaders had a phone call yesterday wherein Trump is said to have shouted and swore at Netanyahu.
Over this call, Trump used the F word several times, told Netanyahu he's effing crazy, mentioned the fact that he helped him numerous times regarding his pardon request in his corruption trial. And what we heard is that Trump's message to Netanyahu was that by doing what he's doing in Lebanon, he's being ungrateful to all the assistance Trump gave him on the pardon issue.
Iranian media reported Monday Tehran is pulling out of negotiations with the U.S. due to Israel's attacks on Lebanon. But today, the country's media outlets signaled the talks are continuing. Clashes between law enforcement and protesters have brought nationwide attention to an immigration detention center in Newark, New Jersey.
Questions there about possible mistreatment at the Delaney Hall facility started after hundreds of detainees went on a hunger strike to protest what they were calling dirty conditions, a lack of sufficient food, and overcrowding inside the detention facility. That's according to their lawyers. Well, now the mayor of Newark says he is going to sue the private company that owns the facility unless city officials are allowed to go inside and inspect it.
And we believe that it should be shut down because we have actual irrefutable evidence now that the place is uninhabitable.
Protests have turned violent, so the city has implemented a curfew. Safe zones have been set up for protesters, and New Jersey State Police are assisting ICE.
When they did show up, they quickly realized these aren't peaceful protesters.
He has repeatedly denied claims of mistreatment.